Can I get a show of hands of how many people here have social media? Okay, so pretty much the majority of us. Great. So those of us who have these apps, how many of us have seen influencers showing like their large collections or showing like large hauls? Okay, about the same amount. So they usually do this, and it's normal to see someone showing their collection of 30 Stanleys, typically in different colors, right? It's normal to see the same Lululemon bag in 20 different colors. And it's normal to see someone with like 5 different pairs of Uggs that serve the same purpose. You see, that's exactly the problem. It's normal, and it's made possible by social media, and it fuels behavior, and it's called overconsumption. And the reason we feel compelled to follow trends is because we need to fit in with our friends, peers, and overall just society in general. And this normalized behavior is, in reality, makes our mental health, environment, and even children be exploited. Although it is a huge problem we face, there are many ways to combat it. And over time, we will learn how to slowly but surely incorporate solutions into our daily lives. But first, we must understand how the media exactly contributes to overconsumption. Now, one thing all media apps have in common is the algorithm. For example, you'll watch like a funny cat video, and then you'll engage with it, you'll like it, you'll comment, maybe you'll share it, and suddenly that's all your page is filled with, right? Well, this is the same for consumerism. You see someone sharing something on their TikTok shop, and you start clicking on those items, you keep getting recommendations for them, especially if you keep engaging with it, right? And the question is, why does it happen? Well, it's quite simple actually. The companies make money, and it makes sense. You engage, you doom scroll, and they get filthy rich. Who can blame them? They want to thrive. However, we can kind of blame ourselves. So let's take a look at how much time we have given them. And according to research done by Capital One, Americans spent approximately 5.19 billion minutes a day on TikTok in 2025. So if we translate that number, it's 9,874 years. Additionally, Forbes states that the average American spends 2 hours and 21 minutes on TikTok per day. With all this much time spent on social media, it makes sense why it's so easy to fall into consumerism. Consequently, when we are scrolling through TikTok, approximately 71.2% of people hop on the app and they purchase products on the platform. And the thing is, they weren't originally looking to spend money on anything. They just went there for a nice scroll, right? So this is what we can call impulsive spending. Having said that, how many of us have ordered a product like off of Amazon or something, or Shein, waited, received the item, and then kind of just forgotten about it over a few days? Anyone here? Yeah, I've done that too. So it's a few of us. And we all fall into the cycle. But why? Well, the answer is dopamine. And in short, dopamine is a feel-good hormone, and it's released when something is rewarding or enjoying. And according to Kate Cummins, who is a licensed psychologist, the brain's reward system is triggered when we shop, but not when the purchase is made. Susan Weinschek, who has a PhD in psychology and works in behavioral science, states that dopamine is released in the anticipation of a reward, which potentially explains why online shopping is so addictive. And here's another interesting study I found while researching. So there's this website called Psychology Today, and there's this guy named Robert Sapolsky. He conducted a study with monkeys. He made them press a button, and they would have a 100% chance of receiving a reward when the button was pressed. And we can see that dopamine levels rose, driving after the anticipation, right? And the funny thing is, the levels go down right after the reward is received. So this goes back to the feeling of not being so excited when the package actually arrives. Now, the interesting thing is that we can look at the yellow line, and whenever chances are lowered to 50% of a reward rate, when that button is pressed, dopamine levels are at least 2 times higher than they originally were when the reward rate was 100%. So how does this go back to online shopping? Well, our anticipation is to wait for the product, right? So levels rise due to many factors, mainly due to uncertainty of the arrival time. So that's typically given by companies like Amazon whenever they tell you, oh, your package will be here in like 2 days. Turns out maybe there's a delay. Your dopamine will go up because you're waiting on that reward. Therefore, it is safe to say that unpredictable circumstances are the drive for anticipation and increased dopamine levels. In addition to the crave for dopamine, your brain can feel overwhelmed when you're shopping online and you're given millions of options with no guidance whatsoever on what to purchase. And since there are so many options, you can only buy so many things, right? So you'll spend hours trying to find the perfect items with no assurance of a purchase. And according to Dr. Deirdre Popovic, who's an associate professor in marketing, you can not only develop an addiction, you could develop feelings of guilt, stress, and anxiety. Not only this, your natural dopamine production levels will decrease. This is because you're getting your dopamine fix from your online shopping addiction. Like, think of someone with a drug or alcohol addiction. They keep relying on those substances to make them feel good. So their brain in turn is just like, oh, well, I'm gonna have these substances in me anyways. There's no point in releasing the dopamine. So we see a similar effect when we online shop like this too. And although we've already seen the various mental health factors from overconsumption, we've yet to take a look at the effects it has on the environment. More specifically, the effects from the textile industry. And a fast-growing trend that's widespread across the media right now is fast fashion. Some companies that are huge in this are Shein, Zara, H&M, and Forever 21. And these companies produce a serious output in clothing. Even though it may not look like it, clothes that we're wearing right now may take a lot of resources to make. Like, for example, a cotton t-shirt. Can I get some hands guesses of how many gallons it takes to make one t-shirt? Anyone in here? 3 gallons? Anyone else? 10 gallons?
20.
6 gallons? Okay. 8. Okay, how about a pair of jeans? 19 gallons? 10 as well? Okay. Well, let's take a look. Now, the reason water is used in clothing is because of the hydrating cotton crop. It takes up a lot of water, right? Because you have to give it water to thrive. And you also need water for the dyeing process. So let's take a look. 700 gallons for one t-shirt. The t-shirt you're wearing right now, 700 gallons of water. That pair of jeans, 2,000 gallons of water, right there. So all this water that is used to make our clothing goes back into our oceans and in turn pollutes them with dye-filled chemicals. And in regards to this, the entire textile industry is the second most water-consuming industry, right behind agriculture. It makes sense for it to take the #1 spot, right? So when the media normalized fast fashion trends changing every 2 weeks, they made it acceptable for people to keep up with trends, like just to keep up with their daily lives, right? And our oceans are not the only part of the environment being affected by fashion overconsumption. Air pollution is taking place when companies ship online products. So according to Marta Ingini, who is with Earth.org, the shipping and return of products contributes to about 37% of greenhouse gases. And this was conducted in 2020. So in 2030, it is estimated that there will be an increase of 6 million tons of CO2 emissions released into the earth. This would be a total of 25 million tons of CO2 emissions. So if rates continue like this, Earth will be unable to keep up with our consumer habits. And by the way, that's about 700 gallons of water, just so you can envision that for your t-shirt, right? So moving on to child exploitation. So when we take a look at the clothes we wear, we should take a second to think about the source of labor, especially when it comes to large companies. So if we take a look at Shein, we can see 2 investigations regarding child labor. And according to BBC, the investigations occurred in about the first 9 months of 2023. Shein found out that there were 2 cases of child labor within their industry, right? And they made a public statement saying that those contracts will be terminated. Since the incident, no public reports have been released, and it's been about 3 years, right? So currently, some countries that do not really enforce their anti-child labor laws are Bangladesh, India, and China. This means that they can hire children for low salaries and continue to get away with it. So that's why it's important to look at how the way the clothing is sourced should be important when we're purchasing something. So after hearing the various ways of how overconsumption has impacted our lives, we should learn methods on how to combat. For starters, we can limit social media. It makes sense to limit the source of where the drive for overconsumption is coming from, right? We can start there. We can also support brick and mortar stores. Go shop in person. If you want to go buy a new dress, go try it on in the store, right? Because if you order it from Amazon and it comes in and it doesn't fit you, you end up having to return it. Maybe you'll purchase a different dress. And that is just excess of CO2 emissions released into the earth that could have been avoided had you gone into the store. So that's another example. And we can also go shop secondhand. Oftentimes in thrift stores like Goodwill, we can see trending items that were in style about 2 weeks ago. Well, if we want those items, we can go there, save them, and prevent them from going into our landfills and possibly avoid another shopping spree of our own. Additionally, we can make swaps. Say you take a reusable water bottle to school. That's better than taking a plastic water bottle every single day, right? You're saving the earth, you're preventing plastics from getting into our oceans. And you can also have a peace of mind that what you're doing can truly change the environment. And ultimately, overconsumption in all aspects of life is everywhere, right? In our social media, in our friends, our workplaces, our schools. It's really hard to avoid. But originally, it shouldn't have been normalized by the media. We shouldn't have fallen into the habit of following trends every 2 weeks. It is our decision, despite the push that we get from others to follow in those trends. And we can have a peace of mind knowing that we are making those changes and we are being intentional about trying to make a difference in the environment, our mental health, and change the lives of those exploited children. So after today, I anticipate that you'll make changes in your life for the better. Thank you.